Magic the Gathering's VIP boosters haven't even officially been released, but they're already plagued with multiple problems. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. I'm glad you could take a moment to spend some time with me here to talk about the VIP boosters. Now, I do want to make a note, just like I did yesterday, but yesterday's video didn't get around very much. Basically, YouTube glorched out and unsubscribed people randomly from the channel. So if you're wanting to be subscribed, just make sure you're still subscribed, you know? That's it. So the VIP booster scenario is thus. There are multi-levels on which Wizards of the Coast has made poor choices that have led to a decreased enthusiasm, at the very least, for their products, with multiple cancellation levels going on and other issues as well, including quality issues, which is a big sticking point for me when it comes to these premium products specifically. So what I want to do is I want to break down basically what the product is, all the things that have been going wrong, and we'll see essentially what's the fault of Wizards, what is circumstance, all that sort of thing. Just kind of what went wrong here. So the VIP boosters were concepted as one of the really high-end premium experience products for Magic the Gathering, right? Think the term most people use for this is whales, right? It's a pretty common term in gaming where you're looking for people who have a lot of money to spend. So they want something for that money though, usually something more prestigious. Give me something that the normal people can't acquire, or more of the best stuff. Whatever it is, something to stand out, something worthwhile. So that's the intention behind the VIP booster. Now we've seen it's like a ever-changing sort of highest level premium product offering, right? Where Wizards of the Coast is essentially exploring to find the ceiling, and they haven't found it yet. And by that I mean Wizards of the Coast is trying to figure out how high they can push prices for things before basically nobody's buying it, or not enough people are buying it to justify it, where when you do the economics and take a look underneath it all, you go, actually, it's better to move with this kind of product because overall it sold more. You know what I mean? Like, there is an intersection between the absolute most money you can get for something and the amount of people who are going to be interested in it. So you're looking for that highest point where it's like, okay, we can sell these, people are buying, fewer people are buying, but we're still making more money because the amount of these things that are being bought at a higher price. But then it reaches the point where it's too unacceptable for people in terms of price or contents, which really does boil down to the same thing roughly. And then all of a sudden you're actually making less money by making these super expensive products. So Wizards hasn't really found that ceiling yet. The initial products that they were trying this with, if you move back, I mean, first you had your master sets, but then they really stepped it up into true premium editions with things like the mythic editions, where you would buy a booster box and instead of having 36 packs, you'd get 24 packs, and it would include 8 special masterpiece style, right? They had tried with the masterpieces and regular boosters just to create another super rarity, but that had fallen flat for them, as overall it decreased the prices of the masterpieces. But when they created the mythic edition and set these booster boxes at extremely high prices, like $250 a box, with all of these guaranteed special like masterpiece planeswalkers, all of a sudden they had created this sort of product that in people's minds would retain the value of those planeswalkers. So you could have your like super booster box, but that product specifically met with a mix of success and failure, and in one way succeeded too much for its own good. Basically, originally when they launched it, it sold well, but then it kind of flagged because they decided to put less desirable planeswalkers. They misjudged what the customer base wanted to get out of the mythic editions. So they sold fewer of the next editions, and then they decided to just pump the gas by making really desirable planeswalkers. And then due to an eBay fiasco that we still haven't like got all the details of, so I'm not sure exactly who's to blame for what's happened, but regardless, it actually ended up in Wizards of the Coast getting sued. There's a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit, making its way through the courts right now based on these mythic editions. So Wizards kind of stepped away from mythic editions altogether, and that might also be why they chose to launch secret layers the way they did with like a 24-hour ordering system, because when it came to these mythic editions, you literally had a scenario where they would make a certain amount available in like just a couple of minutes, and that's how fast it went and you're done. So they looked for ways to continue to provide premium level products where they could make more money on the back end with less production. Secret Lair is an example of that as well, but I don't really consider that the same as these other products we're talking about, because the mythic editions, also the Throne of Eldraine Super Deluxe Collector's Edition one, that one is the high watermark currently for these style products. But you have the mythic editions, you have that deluxe edition that we'll talk about in a second, and you also have VIP packs also being a part of this like upper echelon of the most premium, most expensive products that Wizards of the Coast has to offer. So as I said, the current high watermark is the deluxe edition from Throne of Eldraine. But the thing about the deluxe edition is it contains a bunch of collector's booster packs, but it also has a lot of bells and whistles added onto it. So you have a specialized binder that you get with it, which actually is pretty nice. You get like Garruk artwork, and it includes arena codes and part of a cutout foil sheet, and there's probably some other things that I'm not remembering, but either way, it's a lot of different objects, kind of like a video games collector's edition where you get like related things, and it's pretty neat. But the production costs on that are obviously a lot more expensive than VIP packs are, because VIP packs are just 33 cards, right? So you have this new, like where they're trying something smaller in a way. It's not as expensive as the collector's boxes. Overall, it's not as expensive as the deluxe edition. It's not as expensive as the mythic edition, any of that, right? But it is more expensive, at least where I am, than a regular booster box. So this is a big hurdle that they have to jump with this product, where it's 33 cards in one box for, depending on where you live, anywhere up to $150 for one of these. Maybe even more if you live in a country where the exchange rate to American currency is really not in your favor. I mean, that can vary, but either way, you know, I'm talking mostly like countries using dollars, US, Canada, Australia, all that sort of thing. Either way, you have a scenario where they're creating a very expensive product that rivals the cost of a regular booster box that you get 36 packs from, and you get 36 rares with potential for foils and things like that. Now, you can't do a direct comparison 100%, right? Because they are two different products, but at the end of the day, the VIP boxes have a bunch of lands included in them. Now, these can be the more desirable unhinged lands, or they can be the far less desirable Battle for Zendikar lands that are also a problem for Wizards because of the artist who painted them. So there's a number of levels of issue with that. The first and most important being the value issue, where you go, okay, hey, if I'm spending this much money, you're buying a lottery ticket, right? That's what you're buying from Wizards with the VIP pack. Let's be real. You are going, I may or may not get my value out of this. And people were more willing to put their money down in the first place when all Wizards had done was show box toppers and went, check out, these are the hype box toppers. This is some amazing stuff you can get. And that was a really nice way to walk out the door, a nice impressive start. So people started to put pre-orders in with their LGSs, right? And then what happens is Wizards of the Coast either wasn't communicating effectively with the public, either just through just not paying enough attention and realizing what people would be interested in, or they just chose to hold information back in the hopes of pushing forwards more pre-orders. We don't know. There's no way to know for sure what the situation was. But regardless, information came out later, weeks, actually, I think it might have been up to a month later, where essentially Wizards of the Coast came out and said, look, we said that these VIP packs will have 2 randomly inserted rares or mythic rares. However, 8 of the cards included, a full like 20%, are actually commons or uncommons in the set that we've upgraded by putting just a rare symbol on them. So there were people who felt genuinely displeased by this. Now, to me, that's something that if they had said it from the get-go, I don't think anybody would have been upset. They would have just said, okay, these are the parameters of the set. This is what I'm buying into. But finding out later on leaves a bad taste in people's mouth, especially when, you know, this is something that should have been disclosed up front. So that was the first error of this nature. The second error of the exact same nature was basically they went ahead and said, oh yeah, the box toppers, by the way, that you get the rares will show up twice as frequently as mythic rares. Now, you may say to yourself, well, what's the big deal there? I mean, of course, rares are going to show up more often than mythic rares. The problem is that up until the point of this set, we only had 2 examples of sets with box toppers. One had rares showing up more frequently than mythic rares, and one had mythic rares and rares show up at equal chances. So there was no set full-on precedent. It could be either way, right? 50-50 chance. Any logical person would look at it and go, okay, with this information, it literally could be either. So to quell any confusion that way, Wizards of the Coast should have disclosed that information from the get-go. So when you combine the two together, to some people, it appears that Wizards of the Coast is intentionally hiding the fact that you're more likely to get rare box toppers. And on top of that, they're seeding the box toppers in their favor by making common cards like Expedition Map, which is an okay card, don't get me wrong, but box topper? Really? You know what I mean? So you have a scenario where the people, when you put these two together, they go, I feel like you're just trying to pull one over on me. And so again, you have a wave of cancellations. Now, this is players canceling it from the LGS. But what happens next is Wizards does a dump of the full set on the last day of spoilers, where they just throw out a bunch of cards and you see, wow, there's not that much value in this set. There really isn't. So people start to go, wait a minute, like the price you want for this versus what I'm gambling for, it's like they didn't have the odds charts or whatever. And it's like, oh, I'm going to place a bet, but I don't know what all the odds are. And then they see the prizes they can win in the odds chart and go, you know what, actually, I'm going to pull that bet back. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't feel like taking this gamble now that I know how you've stacked the deck in your favor sort of scenario. So we have a situation where more people start to pull back on their pre-orders. And then LGSs now are actually turning around to the distributors and they are pulling back on it. If you want to know more and listen to somebody who's a little more like market technically minded, you can check out Rogue Deck Builder, because he has I think a 20-minute video going on about this sort of scenario and what's going on with people pulling out. So it is understandable. I mean, if you feel like you've been lied to, okay, definitely, I can see why you'd want to cancel your order. If you feel like what's being put on the table for your money isn't worth your money, it also makes sense to go, you know what, now that I know what you're actually selling me, I don't want it anymore. That's completely understandable. Now, VIP packs also have a genuine quality problem. It's crazy to me to think that you would make a premium product where you're selling 33 cards, where people basically have to hope for their value in the 2 box topper slots and pray that they get like a foil unhinged land or something like that. And also that this doesn't tank the prices in the market as well, which is likely because pre-release prices before a product come out tend to be the highest prices until all the copies make it out into the wild. So we've got a scenario where you need to make this as quality as possible. You don't want to have a situation like what happened today, where you go and watch Alpha Investments video, and in the middle of opening this product, right, because he's got it ahead of time, he's opening it to show you, not only is he cracking barely any value, right? Well, not only is he losing, not coming out ahead on anything, really, it seemed like. Admittedly, I skimmed through. I had just heard there was a misprint in there, so I was skimming through, but it seemed to me like he was not cranking mega value. If I'm wrong about that, let me know, but it didn't seem like it from the video. And the most important thing, though, is the fact that the Urza's Tower that it showed around like the 12-minute mark or whatever, it was total, like there was just a big chunk of the text box just missing, dude. Like they're literally printing these packs. They're 33 card packs. The box toppers are attractive. They've got a bunch of random like foil commons and uncommons and like Battle for Zendikar lands and stuff in there. Like legitimately half the pack is just fluff garbage, and you're expected to pay these like top-notch prices. So there are a bunch of people who are pulling back now, and I think Wizards hasn't found the high watermark with this kind of product, because I genuinely think that a $100 booster pack would be doable, but there's certain circumstances that you have to do it under, right? Well, I mean, first of all, as well, let's acknowledge the fact that what's happened in the world with the global shutdown, that does affect how much money people have to spend. So if it doesn't sell as much because of that, that is not a factor that is the fault of Wizards of the Coast. However, the contents of what's available in the set are the fault of Wizards of the Coast. And as far as I understand, from looking at different sources of information, including an article put out by Mark Rosewater, where he indicated that essentially Commander Legends was supposed to come out at the time that Double Masters did. But for unspecified reasons, they pushed that all the way back to the end of the year, and they needed something to quickly fill in the slot that Commander Legends would have taken. So they had no opportunity to make a new product. They literally just had to use what they already had on hand. That's why we got a master set back. This set, from information that I've gleaned, appears to be the remnants of what was left over from the Artifact Master set that they shelved when the master sets were failing. So this essentially was going to be another set that was not going to do well, was shelved. They pulled the old file, added in a bunch of stuff to it, probably just looked at the market at the time and said, okay, have we put in enough value based on the market here? Then okay, we're good to go. But these market prices that are created like however long ago when these sets are made, they don't stay static. They're fluid, they're dynamic. They shift upwards and downwards. And so the winds of fate have pushed a bunch of random cards from the set downwards based on the normal factors that affect cards. And as a result, there isn't as much like expected value, which is what people, it's essentially the value you expect out of getting a box. Now, nobody can just keep opening boxes and get more money than they're worth. It doesn't work that way. The fundamental nature of the Magic single market makes that an impossibility. However, if you don't have enough value at all for anybody to feel like they even have a chance to get over that without hitting the biggest lottery hits, then you have a product where it's like, it's high risk and high reward, but very low incidence of the reward. And people factor that in, right? It's a big ask to expect somebody to, instead of buying a full booster box, to buy one pack that has 33 cards in it, half of which are just rando commons and uncommons, which you didn't take the effort to make sure it was full of good, exciting commons and uncommons. It's like, it's the old, we optimized it for draft experience, but at the same time, they're trotting out and telling us, we made set boosters because we realized lots of people open boosters that aren't for draft. So you've got all these competing forces, and at the end of the day, they didn't put enough goodness into it. They put the price too high for the product. They didn't do what was necessary to ensure the cards would be high quality. So we have a low quality product that is overpriced with a bad value proposition. You put it all together, and it essentially spells disaster. Now, I'm sure there will be people who defend the product and will say, look at the prices of these box toppers and all these things. And I will say to that, these prices are only relevant if cards move at these prices. If a few big sellers have them and list them at absurd prices, but nobody purchases them, they're not worth that. A card isn't worth what you say it is. A card is worth what somebody else says they will pay for it. You know what I mean? That's how it works. You can say this card's worth $300, but if nobody will pay you $300 for it, then it's not a $300 card. If the most anyone out there will pay you is $50, then that's a $50 card at most. That's how it works. So it'll be interesting to see whether this product actually ends up being successful. I have my doubts. I think that the cards are stacked against this one. I think that Wizards of the Coast has made some poor choices in the creation of this product in what can only be described as lazy greed. Like, let's be real. Let's not pretend that's not what it is. They want a lot of money from you for this, and it is a very low effort product, and it's not high quality. It's like low effort, low quality, and low prospect of you getting enough to make it worth your money. So that is a really, really, really bad mix. Anyways, I will keep you updated on what's going on with that. Tomorrow is Sunday, and that means I will be releasing a new video over on my other channel. That's where I'm hanging out on Sundays now. It's called Fantasy Geographic. You're welcome to come and check it out. We're going to do the next installment of the Joy Relore. And if you've been watching the Joy Relore, it's a bit of a slow roll to begin with. You know what I mean? It heats up a little bit, but we get into the intense boil in the next episode. Things go crazy. The Joy story is about to go off the rails. This episode and the next episode going to be absolutely berserk. But anyways, thanks for coming by and hanging out with me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about all of this. If you like what I'm doing, like, comment, subscribe. It's great for the channel. Share it around. If you love what I'm doing, join the Patreon. Thanks for coming by, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow, but somewhere else.